Oh. Hello, beautiful souls. Apparently you can't see me. I had tested my camera, but I guess it didn't. There we go. That's better. Welcome. Hi. Close up of me. I'm Sadhana. Welcome to my channel. And so nice to be back. I haven't been here for several weeks. I have been away, and I'll talk a little bit about that and what's been going on with me. But most of all, I want to say hello and welcome. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my Thursday night tarot chat. And I've got a few things on the table I want to share with you tonight. But as always, you're welcome to ask questions and let me know what's going on with you, because it's really nice to have that to have that communication and to share back and forth. So welcome to Jen, and you're driving. So we'll see you in the chat when you get to where you're going. And Kyle Liz, hello. Thanks for being here, and thanks for those who are in the background and watching on their televisions and so forth. As we were talking about last time I was on, it's really interesting. I never thought about that because I don't usually watch, I don't know if I ever have, maybe once or twice, watched YouTube on a TV and then not been able to chat. So I know some of you can't join in that way. So I'm holding up this box. This is a deck that we looked at last time. And somebody was asking about the backs of the cards. These are the backs of the cards for a deck for Wonder Walking. And you can see it's a labyrinth. And I believe it was Ange was talking about this. And she was asking about the glyph that's on the back of the Tarot of the She. And so I thought I would talk about this because it's really it's interesting. What's interesting to me, this glyph that is on the back of the Tarot of the She. Hello, Georgia Peach and Sacred Turtle. Welcome. Hey, Jonathan. Nice to have you here tonight. I'm always fascinated with this kind of thing, and I thought I would just share with you a couple of stories and things about me you may or may not know. The glyph on the black, and I am still a little tired, and so if I make slips of the tongue tonight, it's because of that. The glyph on the back of the Tarot of the She it reminds me of one of the symbols in Reiki. And I've studied Reiki through a few different lineages, and really, really resonated with more recently with the Japanese teachings that came straight from the Yamaguchi family, the Jikiden Reiki. And when using a symbol that looks similar to that, the whole idea is that the energy of the Reiki is strengthened. And when a Reiki master when a Reiki practitioner is giving Reiki to a client, friend, family member, whatever, the symbols are used to amplify and to do other things during the Reiki practice. And I feel that there's some connection with the symbol on the back of the Tarot of the She and the amplification of energy. And perhaps that symbol there has, it's a symbol of light. And if you look at the back of this card, it has this gorgeous, it's like the energy builds and builds and builds. And as you move into the center, the energy is just incredibly powerful. And that's what you do with Reiki, right? As the Reiki is flowing through the crown chakra and through the physical body and out the hands, the eyes, or the feet, or other orifices as well too, apparently. But mostly we use the hands. And so that's what it reminds me of. But I believe it was Ange, and she was saying, well, this looks really similar. But to me, this is definitely a labyrinth. And I've had so many beautiful experiences with labyrinths. And I love that the labyrinth is on the back of the deck for Wonder Walking, because it's part of that giving yourself permission to get lost when you're out there, and to not always have a plan, and sometimes, to make sure that you have time when you go out for a walk, and that if you want to take a new path, you don't know how long it's going to take or where you're going to end up, that you have everything you need, so you're going to be okay. But also that sense of curiosity and the magic with spirit in the labyrinth. And the whole idea with a labyrinth is you move through in a meditative way towards the center, and often leave something in the center or leave physical objects in the labyrinth as well too, a way of letting go, among other things. Different labyrinths have different practices and different intentions, but that's what this one reminds me of, and it's really quite beautiful. And oddly enough, the other day I had a dream. I had a dream about designing a labyrinth and having a piece of property. Actually, I knew exactly where the property was. It's not mine. It's a place that I walk all the time, and the land is for sale. So maybe you folks can give me some good juju and somehow make that dream come true. And I saw myself planning quite mathematically the labyrinth on this piece of land, and it felt so real and so special. And I would eventually love one day to have the space to do that, because labyrinth work is truly, truly amazing. So let me just go back to the chat and say hi to everyone. Oh, I'm so glad you're here too, Jonathan. Thank you for being here. And Gomez. Oh, and yes, I will share with you what's in the, Gomez will share with you what is in what was in the thumbnail. It's a beautiful new deck that I have. Sacred Turtle, Georgia Peach, Sunny Rivero. Oh, it's great to have you here and to hang out with you. Essence O and Jamie, good evening to you too. Welcome, Ange. I was talking about you, Ange. That's why I think it was you who asked about the back of the Tarot of the She, and the back of that deck. So I was speaking specifically to you. Alrighty, aloha everyone. And Joseph's here. Hi, Joseph, IT guy. You think so, Kyle Liz? You think it could come true? I think it's about a $6 million piece of property. So I will have to set some pretty big intentions. Hello, Leanne. Light and love to you as well, too. Jonathan says, I need to go to the Sacred Garden here on Maui. They have 2 different labyrinths. Yes, it's such amazing, amazing work. I feel a little bit scattered tonight. I want to tell you, so I've been away for a couple of weeks. I drove, and some of you heard this the other day when I was on doing readings. I drove over 5,000 kilometers, and there and back, and a little bit of driving while I was there, and went to sit with my birth mother. So this is the second mother I have been with on her death, at her deathbed, and caring for her in the last stage of life. So in 2012, the mother that I grew up with, she passed away. And then just on the 13th of July, my birth mother left this plane. And I was with her, and different sisters were coming and going, and my half brother as well too. And so 2 of us were with her when she died, and we had a pretty profound experience on her final day. It was, I'm not going to go into the details here, but I'm so glad that I was there, and I can't believe she's gone. I didn't grow up with her. So I met her so my son is 27. So I met her when I was pregnant with him. So just over 27 years ago, I was reunited with her. And because I didn't grow up with her, I had a very different relationship with her than the mother that I grew up with. And I just said whatever I wanted to say. I really didn't have any filters with her, and we would talk while I was cooking. And I really miss our FaceTime chats. And I have continued to chat with her, and I'm not quite sure that she's completed her journey. I don't know how much you guys know about the transition from life to death and the different thoughts on passing through the different lokas. They're called lokas in Sanskrit. There's been quite a few books, even by the one by the neurosurgeon who died and came back. That's a brilliant book. And he talks about it as well, too, the different kind of layers that you go through when you die. And I just have a feeling she's not quite completed her journey. Somehow, just kind of sense it. And the Swamis really talk about this. When you're leaving your body, it's really important to focus on the light. So you can focus on any word of God, any word that it feels potent to you, and to really like a rocket, like shoot through, so you don't get distracted on the way. I'm so curious about this. One day, I really hope that I have the privilege of a encounter, with a ascended master, because I have so many questions, and I'm absolutely fascinated with death. And it was a privilege to sit with my mom, and it was horrible and painful and challenging, and our system is totally screwed up. It's just not satisfactory. But because of COVID-19 and the fact that we were able to have her in her home, we were all able to be together. And had she been in the hospital, this wouldn't have been possible. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And if you want to talk about anything related to death, I've been thinking about that. It's not, a lot of channels don't talk about that. And so if you have any particular questions or topics that you think might make a good chat, I would love to do that and share with you my experiences as a hospice worker as well, too. So let me know. Let me know. Yeah. I like to keep my water way away from cards. You never know when things are going to topple over. All right, so let me see what we've got here. The lottery, Kyle, is, yeah, I do occasionally buy a ticket. Well, that would be fun to do a video on labyrinths as well, too. I know there are lots of different, like I said, different kinds of labyrinths, and I only can speak from my experience and perhaps the one I design. Jonathan says, the interlife where we process our lives. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Anne says the First Nation people believe about the journey. They put moccasins on their feet, put matches in their pockets, and put food near them for the journey. Thank you very much, Leanne. And Ange also says, my ex had prepared his brother in that way and put sage with him as well, too. Thanks, Jamie. When your mom was in hospice, the hospice nurse told my mom to quit. Sorry, I have to read that. It doesn't make sense to me. It is horrible, but I am glad you were able to have her at home. I was blessed in that regard as well. When my mom was in hospice, the hospice nurse told my friend to quit calling my mom back. You might need to expand on that. So, and you have a desk labyrinth. That's cool, Jonathan. Yeah, all these sacred practices are really special to me, and I love sacred practices. They just, I don't know, they just put so much meaning into my day and into my life. I want to talk about this deck that I put in the thumbnail. I just received it. And it was a Kickstarter deck. I have no other decks from Lunaria. And I put a link to her Etsy shop in the description box below. Her name, or her artistic name, her spiritual name, is Lunaria Gold. I don't know if that's her real name. And this deck caught my eye. I have no other crystal decks. And I really didn't understand why anybody would want a crystal deck when you can actually hold and feel the energy of and create grids and work with crystals. I never really got the whole idea of why you would have a crystal deck of cards, unless of course you were using it in place of a crystal book and you are using it for crystal study. I totally understand that. But when I saw this deck, it really caught my eye. So many of you know I've done several videos on plants and shared with you my favorite plant and flower oracle decks and tarot decks. And there was something about this deck that felt so very, very like it caught my eye, and I just knew it was going to be a deck that I love and treasure and study. Of course, there would be a definite learning curve to it, and it just arrived. And I want to tell you that it has not disappointed. It comes in a fairly large box, and I've already taken it out and I haven't done a reading with it, but I've been looking at it carefully. Unfortunately, you know, I don't like large boxes. Anyway, it's a 2-part box. It's beautiful, beautiful on both sides. Nothing on the inside. So it has one of those insets where the cards go in. So, and then it comes with this guidebook. So the box is that big because that's the size of the guidebook. The guidebook is full color pictures, and there's a few problems with the book, which I will talk about. And it's lovely, has lovely binding. Like it's one of those ones where you can it's not going to crack. The spine isn't going to crack when you open the pages fully, and it's got great paper, full color images of all of the cards, and quite a small description actually, but it does talk about the plant, and it does talk about the crystal, and it also talks about the relationship between the plant and the crystal, and the general meaning of the card in relationship to the tarot. So in a very short description, you get quite a bit of information. I would strongly not recommend this deck for beginners. It's a deck that it'd be great if you had a little bit of background with crystals or plants, and definitely the tarot. But it is so beautiful, and I'm going to share a lot of the deck with you tonight. So one of the things that has totally impressed me, and I hope the lighting is going to cooperate with me tonight, it's cloudy outside, so it should be okay, are the little flecks of color. So in the lapis here, you can see how well, like the pyrite just shows up so much. This card is so beautiful. She talks about, so this is a crocus in the background, and she talks about how, that I didn't know this, that I don't know if it's a certain breed of crocus, but crocuses are harvested. The stamen is where saffron comes from. I never knew that. I never knew that saffron came from crocuses, and just makes so much sense because the color of saffron is often the color of pyrite. And this is the Empress card. Anyway, it's absolutely, absolutely stunning. So we're gonna look at the deck in some detail. And I can see there's a couple other things here. We'll just oh, that's good. Okay, so alrighty. Oh, okay. Women usually pick saffron from the crocuses. I didn't know that. And I didn't know it was a certain breed. Hello, Paula. Nice to have you here. Okay. Oh, that is a price jump, Jonathan. So let's have a look at the deck. And there's a few things that I'm hoping if there is a reprint get fixed, because it's going to be a little bit challenging to work with, and I'm going to tell you why and what that is about. So first of all, let's look at the good things. So in the front of the book, there is a summary, and all of the major cards fall under the category of soul. And we have a few pages of that. And then for the Suit of Cups, there is a summary, and these are all called emotion. And then here we have, I don't know if I can read. I should make my thing. Drive. So this is going to be wands. And then mind. So swords. And domain. Domain is the suit of pentacles, of earth, of groundedness. And the other difference is that in the minors, we don't have court cards. The cards are simply numbered 11, 12, 13, and 14. And in the description, there is some discussion that feels very kingly. So for example, here is the King of Pentacles. We have jadeite and beets. And I'll just go to that right now and give you a little feel. I'll hold up the card and then I'll just read that for you, just so you get a feeling for what that is. And it totally makes sense that she didn't call them king and queen and things like that. Jadeite's compact structure is small fibrous crystals. Jadeite's compact structure of small fibrous crystals makes it dense and tough, ideal for intricate carving. With its durability and rich translucent colors, it was considered the imperial gem in China and was highly prized by the Mayas and the Olmecs as a material holding great spiritual power. The earthy beet has been an important source of nutrition and livestock fodder, as well as table sugar. Every part of the plant is nourishing, and its vibrant purple-red juice is used as natural dye. Practical knowledge paired with strong leadership skills have led to increased status and power. You are in a choice position to make decisions, enact changes, and direct outcomes in accordance with your needs and will. Remember that those gains were made through wise and practical choices as well as necessary sacrifices. Retain this no-nonsense attitude and steady focus. You can keep growing and prospering by maintaining your discipline and tested methods. So if you have a little more knowledge of the crystals and the plant medicine, then you'll be able to weave that in. You get a little flavor in the guidebook of both the crystal and the plant, which I have to say is a bonus, because as you know, many of the oracle decks out there and tarot decks out there, we don't get enough information. So that is, I'm so glad that that's included. Oh, I'm just looking at this one. This is so gorgeous. So I did put the cards in order, and the thing I want to talk about here is that one of the reasons you might want to wait for the second edition has to do with the difficulty in identifying the cards. I'm going to have to leave my glasses on. So I've got here 0, 1, 2, I believe I've got the pentacles here, and that was a pentacle. Okay, so these are called domain. So in the Suit of Pentacles, the font on the bottom, so the description on the bottom and the number on the top, has a green color. And all of the cards have this green lettering on the top and green lettering on the bottom. And that is the only way to identify the suit until you begin to get to know the cards. Unfortunately, hopefully it's here. I hope I've got, sorry, I showed you, see? I got it wrong already. This here, I'm going to move that one over because that's the king that goes here. These are the green ones. So this is the suit of domain. And this teal color, which is very, very close in color, is the suit of mind. So until I get to know the cards really well, and it's a very, very subtle difference. I don't know if you can even see it on the camera, the difference in the font color. So the teal color is for mind, and the green color is for the domain. Okay, so already I got mixed up. In the suit of cups, you have a beautiful rose gold. There's more rosy colors, and you have a rose gold font on the top and on the bottom. So that's how you identify the cups. And then in the suit of, what did she call it? The suit of fire. She called it, so drive. So we've got emotion, drive, mind, and domain. And in the suit of drive, you can see we start with definitely a fiery color, and you can see lots of, oh, we've got Bird of Paradise on the back there. And the font is a kind of a bronzy color. So just saying that, especially the suit of mind and the suit of domain, when they're all mixed up and all shuffled together, it's going to be a little bit tricky to identify some of them. And then I want to put these in. We have an extra card in this deck too. We'll put so we're going to go through. So this is the extra card, and I'm going to hold them up like this so you can see. So there's an infinity sign on the extra card, bismuth and fern. And this is the Fool with the labradorite. Oh my God, so gorgeous. And it's really interesting because some of the flowers I know well, some of the crystals I know well. And so some of them, so for example, dogwood is very familiar to me, but this particular crystal is not. Hello, Essence. And look at this one. I mean, I just think she's done such a good job in capturing the details of the crystals. I already talked about this one. So this is the Empress. There we go. That's better. And look, for the Emperor, she chose copper and eucalyptus. And it totally makes sense. In the guidebook, she talks about how eucalyptus survives forest fires and how strong of a plant it is. And it makes a lot of sense to me. But one of the medicines for copper has to do with its feminine and connection to the goddess. So what do you do when you have a deck that offers different teachings than you're familiar with, right? I totally get the association of copper to fire to emperor. And I'm also familiar with its connection to the goddess. So this is one of those situations. Here's the Hierophant card. One of those situations where it's a matter of, a little bit of study and expanding your practice. For the Lovers, we have hematite quartz, which I have never seen. This is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. I just think that we've got a lot of magic happening here. And when I was going through the cards initially, what I was imagining was how this deck is going to complement other decks and how I probably would use it as an oracle for a long time rather than using it as a tarot deck. So this is one of my favorite cards. So I know in Canada, Ammonite comes from Alberta in the Badlands, and it's an absolutely, so it is a fossil. It's a fossil, right? So it grows on the inside of shells in the river beds, and the fact that it's paired with amaranth, I mean, this is just absolutely brilliant. So I'm really, really impressed. And then again, and then here we have the Hanged Man. So we have amber, and we have that little bug in the amber. I'm glancing at the chat, but I'm not really. Sorry, I'm not really reading it. I'm kind of focused. I want to get through the cards, and then I'll go back and look at some of your comments. Isn't this interesting for the Death card? So here's another example. So Aragonite. Aragonite is, I guess that makes sense. Anyway, it's a beautiful card, and I've never really thought about Aragonite connected with death. And actually, I want to just see what she has to say about that. I love Aragonite. It's such a beautiful, beautiful crystal. So she says, bone white aragonite is a form of calcium carbonate, the inorganic equivalent to the organic pearls and nacre formed by marine animals. So it's also organic. So yeah, so some of them have a lot more detail than others. This is quite an interesting choice for the Temperance card. And some of them you just get right away, you know, why she's chosen them. She's got the fire lilies for the Tower. So good. What did she have for the Devil? So the Devil was Realgar, which I don't know, and Hellebore. Okay, that makes sense. So oh my goodness, how many of you have borage in your gardens? I have never planted it, and I put it in my vegetable garden as a pollinator this year, and my borage is so big. I really need to take it out and put it somewhere else. It's really quite incredible. So if there is a particular crystal that you want to know if it's included in this deck, let me know, and I will look through. So, and I'll just show you a couple from each of the, I'm not going to go through all the minors. And then we have Pearl and You for transformation. Isn't that a clever choice for the Judgment card? I think it's just brilliant. And then this Rainbow Tourmaline and Orchid for the World card is absolutely stunning. So of course the sun is coming out, so my lighting is going to be weird. Look at that. It's just really beautiful. So let's see what your impression is of some of these cards so far. Oh, Jen's back home. Okay. I saw somebody like, oh, you like the opal. Yeah, it does look a bit more like an oracle. So it's going to take some time to get familiar with the cards. Yeah, I like the Hangman too, Jamie. I'm really, really intrigued. And so what my intention is to, so I'm going to show you the 4 aces, and then we'll kind of look at a few of a couple of the other cards. So Sulfur and Rowan for the Ace of Fire, the Ace of Drive. I think she did a good job in naming the suits. I love that. The Ace of Drive. And if you've studied like the, it's one of my favorites, the Druid plant oracle. I think Rowan is included in that one too. It's magical, right? And then we have grape and I don't know how to say it. So the second part is pyrite, and then we have chalcedony. So chalcopyrite and grape. And is this green or blue? So this is going to be the ace of earth. Chalcopyrite. So here she has like a geode, right? So she's got the raw, and then we look inside, which is really beautiful. And then for the cups, she's got muscovite and milkweed. So this is your ace of cups. The colors are just gorgeous. Jonathan says, is moldavite included? I'll look through. And for the ace of mind, we have phosphophylite and juniper. I don't know phosphophylite. And if you look on her website, she is a certified gemologist. So I think she's, I don't know if that was the right word, but she's definitely qualified to write this book. Yeah. So do we have moldavite? Very good question. We have malachite. So malachite is in the suit of earth. That's interesting. I'm just looking for the green ones, Jonathan. We have alexandrite, which is tiger's eye is in mind. Tiger's eye is in mind. So tiger's eye is the 8 of mind. That's interesting. Oh, I wanted to show you this one. So here, this is a really good game. So for the 4 of swords, pick a plant and pick a crystal. See if you can figure this out, because I think it's perfect. Let me go to the teal colored cards. 4 of swords. Okay, you got it? Here it is. Isn't that perfect? Moonstone and poppy. It kind of reminds me like of, I don't know. You know that scene in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy lies down in the field of poppies? That's what I was thinking of when I saw that, and then also the moonstone. I think that would be a fun thing to do, is to try to make your own, like as you were going through the deck, like have a look through it, but then think, okay, what would be your perfect combination for that? I'm still looking for moldavite. And unfortunately, there is no index in the back of the book, right? It's just the card descriptions. So you could make your own little index, which I have done in many of my oracle books. I do not think it is here, Jonathan. Emerald. Peridot, Hanksite. No, I don't believe there is any, no moldavite. So that's not included there. All right. The artwork is gorgeous. Oh, sugilite. Sugilite. Yes, that is an amazing crystal. Sugilite. I mean, we could just go through some more cards, couldn't we? I do not remember seeing a sugilite card. So I think what I'm going to do is to work with it, and I will do a full walkthrough and with really nice lighting so you can see the whole deck. And I'm going to pick out some of my favorite cards and talk more about them in the walkthrough. Okay, so hopefully, and then that way you'll get a chance to look at every single one of the cards for those of you that are interested in crystals. So yeah, so that is the Telluric Tarot. And like I said, I don't have any of her other decks, and I'm intrigued with her rune deck. And I don't know, Jonathan, if you have her rune deck or if you've looked at it, but that's kind of interesting too. But I think this is enough. I have enough new decks recently, and I'm really trying to refrain from purchasing more. And the sun is coming out and shining. So I wanted to talk about this piece of calcite here because I was talking about crystals. And this is a new acquisition for me after I said I wasn't going to buy any more large pieces of crystal. And I went into my favorite shop called Amethyst Creations in Vancouver, British Columbia. And this beauty was just sitting there staring at me and just kind of came at me. And normally I would not think of yellow calcite as a grounding stone. I would think of it more as, third chakra kind of stuff. And when I started to look at this rock, I was really intrigued with the layers and how it looked like a mountain. And it just felt so very, very solid. And I knew that it was going to come to my home. And I bought a large piece of labradorite, and I bought this one. And it was my son's birthday, and I let him choose either this one or the piece of labradorite. And I'm so glad he chose the labradorite because I really feel like I needed this rock in my house to kind of, we have a lot of spiritual stuff going on in this house between me and my daughter. And sometimes it's really hard to keep our feet on the ground. And I feel like energetically that having this rock here, just as it's either on the center of the dining room table these days or the center of our large table on the deck outside. And it's just really felt nice and solid. So I'm curious, with you and the crystals that you work with, what are the ones that keep you make you feel solid, like you feel like your feet are on the ground and you feel safe and you feel anchored, not so much as dealing with root chakra issues, but just that sense of landing and feeling present, that kind of thing. I know I've talked a little bit about it before, but I'd really like to know what you guys do for that kind of energy in your home, especially if you have a lot of spiritual practices and you need that energy around in the house. Leanne, if you're asking, chamomile and howlite. Ooh, that's a beautiful combination. Okay. Oh, the chat just jumped. Oh, aren't you lucky, Jamie? Your husband just purchased it for you. That's wonderful. Poppies, poppies, poppies. Yes, they will make them sleep and make them rest. Okay. I think there is a topaz card. Yes. $130 to New Zealand. That's a little pricey, isn't it? Okay. Oh, you do have rune decks. Okay, good to know. Yeah, no, that's something I have yet to study, and I will be, I don't know, at some point in the future. I mean, I have looked at them because, as you know, I have a few of the Celtic decks, and I haven't gone into a deep dive with runes, so that's something. Carnelian. I did not see a carnelian card. No. Thank you, Paula. Yeah, I really like this gorgeous rock. It makes me feel safe, and I have, I don't want to say I have a lot of weird stuff that goes on in my house because I do my best to ground and to keep my practices. And actually somebody was asking me about this because there's been a lot of unanchored people lately that I've been talking to, and people who have had a hard time with, you know, this kind of energy and forgetting how important this kind of energy is. And so feeling like their empathy has gone like out of control. And with the COVID-19 situation and with all of the unrest, the social unrest in the world, it's been really, really challenging, and feeling like I just want to crawl into a cave. And Sadhana, how are you functioning with all that's going on in the world? And I think it's because I create times. Like when I do my practices, that's when I do my practice. And the universe knows loud and clear that you don't interrupt me. And I'm in my practice. Like when I say you don't interrupt me, like my kids don't knock on the door. I schedule at a time where I'm not going to be interrupted by power tools from my neighbors and so forth. Um, and I communicate with the universe, and that this is my spiritual time, and this is the time where I'm open to receiving messages, and this is the time where I want to receive messages, and I'm in service with the universe to receive messages for other people and so forth. And so, you know, when I'm resting at night, I feel like I'm not getting a lot of stuff because because I've set boundaries. And I think that's been a really important part of every single practice that I do, is setting of boundaries. And if things do happen, if weird things start to happen, like here's a really funny story. So one night I was woken up by, I think it was the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra. I think it was that mantra. And all of it, and I woke up and I was like listening to this chant going on and on and on. And I thought, oh wow, my daughter has learned the so hard to say, the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra. This is the Om Triambakam mantra. And I got up out of bed and she wasn't chanting. And I got back in bed and I heard it, and it just kept going over and over. And I realized that my altar was like, had the energy of the mantra, and my something on my altar was just, because I had it closed behind doors, like the one in my bedroom, I had doors on it. And anyway, it was like alive, chanting away. So I shouldn't say always I have the boundaries delineated. Sometimes things get out of hand, and that kind of thing does happen to me a lot. One, because mantra is the most, the biggest part of my practice. And I feel like sometimes mantra is vibrating everywhere in my house. And so, yeah, it's not unusual that I hear mantra in the ether when there's not a human chanting it. So yeah, that would be the only thing that sometimes gets out of control in my house. Okay, so essence, where are we here? Oh, hello, Sherry Bug. Oh, this is good. Okay, this is the kind of information I like to know. So black moonstone, petrified wood, and gray banded agate puts my feet on the ground. That's really good information. Melody's crystal book. I'll have to look that up. Thank you, Paula. My runes that I'm creating is closer to the witch's runes from the 70s, but it's going to be my own system of 26 runes on 13 wooden discs. Okay, good to know, Jonathan. I'm sure everybody will be excited to see your final product. Okay, yeah, Paula, staying grounded is so important. So Jen says, that's what I'm struggling with at the moment, the constant interruption from others. I was doing a reading this week, actually, and the man I was doing the reading for was the issue. And I feel like this issue is becoming more important, and that when we take on these sacred practices, we set ourselves up for success. As an example, so this morning I did my yoga class on Zoom outside on my deck. And quite a few of the students had requested the class be changed to 10 a.m. And 10 a.m. is just too late. People are out in their yards, out in their gardens. I live in a busy neighborhood, and so I changed it back an hour. But ideally, I should change it back another hour to 8 a.m. so that we can have more quiet, right, during the class. And so it's really important to set up your practices in an environment where you can, and I don't like to use the word succeed, but you know what I mean, where the practices will, you'll be able to complete whatever your practice is, whether it's a physical yoga practice, or whether it's just sitting in silence, or whether it is a guided meditation, or whether it's, you know, whatever it is, walking your labyrinth. You want to have silence, and you want to feel connected to the energy in the ether and universal consciousness. Also, you know, a lot of us have a hard time waking up between 4 and 5 a.m., but there's certain times of the day where the ether is, I don't know whether you say the veil is the thinnest, but the energy of the ether is optimal for sacred practices. And if we can work with those times of day too, things can be a lot easier. But on a super practical level, I have found that if you actually talk to the universe, you actually talk to the universal energy and say, okay, now this is what I'm going to do. I need 12 minutes, and make sure, of course, that the phones are off and everything like that. But if you actually communicate to the universe, you know, I find that helps as well too. And that's really helped me in my practices. So I've got one more thing I want to share with you on my desk. And okay, I'm not sure what the wow was about, but maybe it was my mantra story. So I'm going to have to go back, and sandalwood burnt with the calcite goes hand in hand. Ooh, that sounds beautiful. Calcite is also good for emotional healing. Yes, for sure it is. Jen says, oh, I do. Oh, she's talking to Essence. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and read the chat because you guys have made some lovely comments. And thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so I did not put this deck in the thumbnail. And what I wanted to just chat about briefly, because I'm going to do this tomorrow, is I'm going to do a side-by-side of the Mons Tarot. This is the second edition. And this one, which I'm drawing a blank on right now. Neither of these decks what do I want to say? I acquired these decks for other people, not for myself. They were not truly intriguing for me personally, but I felt that both the Mons Tarot and the Shadowland, sorry, now I remember the name, and the Shadowland have a place. They have a place in readings for certain moods and certain types of clients. These are the two Magician cards. And so, I don't know, I want to just ask you, like, before I do this video tomorrow, like, what is the place of these monster decks? And maybe there's another deck that you can think of that kind of fits in this niche, you know, and not necessarily, you know, maybe some of you don't consider the Shadowland a monster deck, but it definitely has Shadowland, you know, the people are not necessarily people. Like I'm thinking of the two-headed one. Which card is that? the Strength card. So let's have a look at the Strength card, because there's definite similarities between these two decks. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there, and you can either reply in the chat and I'll read it later, or I'll read in the comments later about how you use your monster decks, if you consider it a monster deck, or maybe there's another name, you know, like, and what does monster represent for you? What's its purpose? What does it feel like? And how could it, because when I'm doing tarot readings, I'm looking for, we're using a particular deck. We choose certain decks. So, because sometimes it's easier to see things in other metaphors, in other forms. It's really hard to look in the mirror and to see ourselves and to see what we need to learn. So we use the tarot, we use other tools. And so how do the monster decks reflect that in a different way than other decks? I think that's the heart of my question. And then the Mons Tarot is definitely more RWS than the Shadowland Tarot. The Shadowland Tarot brings up some really beautiful teachings and different food for thought. And just think about all those strength cards you've seen with different animals, usually a woman, and sometimes it's definitely about control over, other times it's about the emergence of that inner strength for sure. And when I look at the Shadowland card, I am very much feeling the connection of what is within, you know, we have the two personalities, we have the two sides of the self, we have that, you know, like that person that's always on your shoulder, the mind that's always on your shoulder, guiding you and talking to you. I just really like the way that she drew this and chose to have it, the two heads side by side rather than one above and one below, you know, because usually the animal is lower down and the human is above, the woman is above. And to have the two heads side by side, I think really is it's a beautiful interpretation of that card. So yeah, so what do you think of these decks, and do you use them? Is there a place for them? And I know that there was so many reviews of Shadowland, and I was kind of late to the game in getting this deck, and I had pre-ordered the Mons Tarot, and then it came, and then I've just been really kind of reflecting on this. So I'm just going to read a couple of your comments here because I'm really interested. So Jamie says, I use the Mons Tarot for inner child work. Honestly, I find the Shadowland not so shadowy, but quirky, and use it the same. Okay, whimsical but different energy, says Kyle. I'm going to just scroll down here. Okay. So some people like one and not the other. Some people connect with one more than the other. I honestly bought Shadowlands to hold me over until Mons Tarot came. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh, I lost the comment now because the chat was scrolling. This is funny. I think it was, who said that? I'm sorry, I lost the comment. Oh dear, where did it go? That's funny. Oh, it's right here. I honestly bought Shadowlands to hold me over until Mons Tarot came. Mons Tarot really makes me smile. Okay, so maybe very, very different energy for some people, but I'm going to do that tomorrow and just put the two decks side by side and go through them and just have a little chat about that. I'm planning to be at my table and do a little bit of filming tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to do a premiere. And I have pulled out all of my little tiny decks, you know, the little tiny ones with the hinged box. And I'm going to go through those, and I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I use them. And I not sure if I'm going to do 5 ways I use them or 10 ways I use them, but that's what I'm going to share. And so I hope some of you can join me tomorrow night for the premiere of that one, and then we can talk more, and it's easier for me to respond to your comments. So yeah. So is there anything else that you want to ask or say, or questions? Let me know. Oh, great! I'm glad some of you can be there tomorrow night. And perhaps for tomorrow night, you want to pull out, if you have some of those little decks, like one of the ones I don't have is Divine Doors. And I'm really intrigued with that little one. And there's a couple others. I mean, I have probably 6 or 7 of them. And there's a couple that are on my radar that I don't have. And so maybe you can pull those decks out tomorrow night, and then we can just kind of talk about them and how you use them as well too. Okay. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And I apologize. I am a little tired. So if I came across that way, it's nothing. It's just because I've been through a lot, and it's going to take me some time to energize and get back to, my old self. So stay well, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Namaste.